Okay, great. We are starting in a few seconds. Keep people just the chance for people just to join. Okay, fantastic. Save the time for everyone and be on track with the schedule. I have with me in a recorded session Dr. Amin Hasbini from Kaspersky, and he will talk about very interesting topic about threat hunting by using Yara Rules as a GReAT Ninja, GReAT, which is a global research and analysis team, and hopefully you will get a very insightful session from Dr. Amin. If you have any questions, please feel free to share it into the feedback form because Dr. Amin is not available with us now. I will share the feedback form to the chat and the Q&A. So we will be able to redirect his questions over there. Okay, and cool. And let me start. I just want to have a small confirmation from you about the voice, if it is working fine or not. I will, let me just 1 second, prepare the stage. Cool. I would like to have the confirmation about the...
Hello everyone, thank you for attending this session. Assalamu alaikum. It's a pleasure for us to be here with you today for Arab MTech أو المؤتمر العربي للتقنيات والشركات الناشئة. موضوعنا اليوم أو our topic for today is Yara Rules and threat hunting with Yara Rules, and I think this is one of the most important topics for our region. And there is a lot of skills that need to be developed in this area. So please bear with us. This will be an introduction to Yara Rules, how to use Yara Rules, what are the uses of Yara Rules, and some tricks that could be useful for beginners, but also for advanced users of Yara Rules. So I will start with a small introduction about me, and so my name is Dr. Amin Hasbini, and currently I'm the head of research center with Kaspersky Lab Global Research and Analysis Team in the Middle East, Turkey and Africa, and our role is to identify and hunt for APTs. I'm also in love personally with smart cities. I did my PhD in smart cities security, and that's a topic that I try to keep quite close to me because I believe the future is there. So let's start with a few words a few additional words about our webinar. So we have been spreading our love to Yara since 2016. We believe it is the cybersecurity researchers' Ferrari, and this originally started at our SAS trainings. If you don't know about SAS is a conference that we organize on an annual basis, where top researchers and people from the cybersecurity community, they come together to tell us and tell the world about the latest and the greatest issues around the world related to cybersecurity. So as you probably know, with the current circumstances, we have been considering going full online. We did multiple SaaS sub-SaaS webinars and conferences online, and like hence this short webinar also. Another thing that would be like really cool if you are interested in further enhancing your Yara rules and Yara skills. We do have an online version of our training, our Yara Rules training, which is on xtraining.kaspersky.com, and this could be interesting for you if you're seeking such kinds of skills and hunting for APTs and malware inside your organizations, or just as a researcher just searching for such kinds of things. So let's move ahead. So let's start with a small introduction about Yara and the software that comes from the Yara and there are basic needs for Yara rules. So of course to start you need Yara, and you can download Yara on your system. We'll talk about that even more later. More recommended tools to use with Yara, tools that could be interesting for you to look at, is the string analyzer, which is available on all Unix systems, but you can also have on Windows systems, etc. PE file structure, Hue, FAR, BinDiff, they are really nice too. Some people also rely on static analysis tools like IDA Pro or GReAT, but these are optional really, and you don't need them to write Yara rules. Obviously, the knowledge of malware analysis and reverse engineering would be really helpful if you're trying to hunt APTs and malware using Yara rules, but they are not extremely necessary. And so let's move ahead. So there are multiple recommended manuals, and this is also important when you want to they are extremely useful. We always rely on these references, and we have our own cheat sheets, of course, at hand all the time that help us out. The goal is to find the best combination and syntax to write the rules. Do note that VirusTotal have Intelligence Access Pro, Professional Access, Pro Access on their platform for organizations, but also for researchers, and that allows us and everyone else to write Yara rules and use it on VirusTotal. And this is one of our sources of intelligence at Kaspersky. We do have Yara rules deployed by our different researchers on VirusTotal, and they match files whenever someone that could be infected or that has an investigation uploads something on VirusTotal. They also have an extension for Yara that they have documented on their website. So a small intro about Yara. So Yara was originally developed by Mr. Victor Alvarez. He's with VirusTotal. He is now a Google employee because VirusTotal was acquired by Google. It was developed with the idea to describe patterns that identify particular strains or entire families of malware. So they created VirusTotal, and Yara was used on VirusTotal in the beginning to hunt for special malware files, and then of course it was made available to the public later. There are multiple versions of Yara, mainly Windows, but you can easily fetch the source code or pre-compiled binaries for different platforms from popular repositories. Personally, I've created my own Yara version for Linux. So I try to optimize its performance and efficiency. I can also add modules, etc., whenever needed. So that is very, very helpful. So our first example, in case you have never seen a Yara rule before, here is a basic example that is called Welcome to our webinar. You can see three main sections here. In the metadata section, which describes the rule, we will talk more about that later. That's like quite a useful section. There is also the strings section, which defines the strings that we have in our rule, and last in the conditions, which if matched will trigger the Yara rule detection. So as you can see in this rule, it is a rule that is useful for finding real friends, and to find a real friend, the condition is to have $A, which is kind. Your friend needs to be kind, and funny, $B, but not imaginary. All right. So again, simple example, and typical example for like how programmers and researchers maybe find friends. Not sure it is working for them, to be honest. All right, so let's move ahead. The metadata section in a Yara rule is not obligatory, but it is highly recommended for you to include the multiple multiple details that are there, because it will help you later identify what was the rule about. This is again very important. So it will help you to identify what you were writing in this rule, what you were hunting in this rule. And if someone sees the rule, or like if you're sharing this rule, they know who wrote it, and like what is this about, and if they need help, they can also contact you. So this is again very important. So there are multiple ways that can be used to define strings in Yara, but we won't spend much time on these now. You can check them in the documentation, and like there's a big section around them also in the online training. But there are different tools or different ways, to define strings, and this is very helpful when you're trying to hunt code, for example, or binary values, etc. So the conditions section, this is another very important section in a Yara rule, and it allows you to define when a Yara rule will trigger, of course. So what will trigger the Yara rule? At first, it is quite important to check file headers, of course, to identify if this is the kind of files we are looking for, because so if you're hunting for malware, then what are you hunting for? Which kind of malware? Is it a Windows kind of executable, or is it something embedded in an Office document, for example, etc., etc. So, for example, executable files always need to start with an MZ header. So if you look at any executable file, whether malware or not, they will start with an MZ header. It's just a string that is inside the beginning of each executable file. Every exe file starts with MZ. So MZ are it's originally the initials of Mark Zbikowski, which is one of the leading developers of MS-DOS at Microsoft. And the same header still applies for Windows executables today, as you can see. So we can hunt for that usually, and it helps us to minimize the amount of files that we are trying to match, or that we match in our Yara rules. It is very, very important. Conditions, again, there is a number of possible conditions. We don't want to spend too much time on the theory. You can read about these in the Yara manuals and experiment as you like, or even further details are shared in the online training. But if you want to get closer to the cool stuff, I think it's important for us to know what can we do with Yara rules. How are they useful? Because there are multiple uses for Yara rules, not only to hunt like malware specifically. So let's start identifying and classifying malware. So this is again identifying the family of malware that we are trying to deal with, or identifying certain, for example, files that have certain functionalities, for example, that we are hunting. Finding new malware samples based on family specific features, finding exploits and 0 days. This is very useful. We've seen some exploit developers repeatedly using similar kinds of techniques in their exploit development, which helped us hunt their malware and hunt their exploits and 0 days. And that is, I think, quite interesting. There is also a tool called Yara PCAP, I think, which allows you to scan PCAP files, like which is interesting. Basically, it extracts and deflates HTTP streams to scan them with Yara Rules. You can also build some kind of your own antivirus using Yara Rules. Interestingly, my colleague in the team, Vitaly Kamluk, has used Yara Rules to create a presentation, which was quite unique and very difficult. But he also played, he even played Doom using Yara and ASCII, which was insane, honestly. He did it at SAS. And I encourage you to look at the YouTube videos. Just Google Vitaly plus Yara, and you will see him there. But definitely, Yara is not very useful for playing Doom or doing presentations in ASCII. So you might say, who uses Yara? And you'll be surprised to know that a lot of organizations are using Yara these days, whether they know it or not. A lot of security teams use Yara, like our teams at Kaspersky, and security vendors sometimes implement these Yara rules in their solutions and their what is called anti-targeted attack platforms, there are multiple ones in the market, including at Kaspersky. We won't be talking about that. But you would be surprised to know that even spyware developers were spotted using Yara Rules to search for their own malware. So they would spot their own malware before everyone else, so they know when they are starting to get exposed or one of their campaigns is getting exposed. And I think this is very important. This was discovered when it was used by the hacking team, and again, they were trying to identify when their campaigns were getting exposed or investigated before researchers know about them. So some few tips on how to design Yara rules. So it's important for you to think of Yara like a programming language, not like a regex where you're trying to match some strings. Try to clearly deploy your lines. Try to clearly clarify what is what. Implement the right metadata that helps you before everyone else to detect or to identify what this rule was about, and leave some contact information. Like a lot of Yara rules get published or get shared wildly, and no one knows who wrote them, which is sad, for the authors. Again, this is the naming convention that we use for our Yara rules. As you can see, this rule detects an APT, and the possible language in the malware is Chinese. It doesn't mean that China is behind it. It means that the language is possibly Chinese. The threat actor name of the APT is Winty, and then some particular name for the thing that we are trying to search for. In this case, a stolen certificate, which was used by this threat actor for code signing, for signing their malware files. And again, you can see this rule APT CN Winty stolen cert. So let's move ahead with another example, or with the same example actually. So this is actually the Yara rule that was created for APT CN Winty stall insert. It was written by Costin Ryu. It is like type APT, and you can see the additional metadata and even the publication URL, the MD5 of the file from which the Yara rule was created. I think that's also important. And then the serial number and the thumbprint from the stolen certificate, which we are trying to match as strings in this Yara rule. Examples of things to search for with Yara. Text strings, I think, is the mostly used term. So you can try to look for code stamps, for PDP path, API calls, code language, errors, formatting, anything that could help you uniquely identify the threat actor you're hunting. We've seen some threat actors using a specific username, for example, in their malware, and then we try hunting for that. We've seen other attackers using a specific techniques or encryption algorithms or evasion techniques or tunneling like data exfiltration or data tunneling methods. And all of this is usable in the hunting of malware and threat actors or threat actor groups. This is also what helps us sometimes in connecting dots together, connecting a code that is used, for example, by different groups, but then these groups are connected, for example, and collaborating, so and sharing some code between them. This is, I think, very important. All right, so exercise number 1. So what is wrong with this Yara rule? And like, I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. You will probably, if you've been following before, you'll see like a lot of problems in this Yara rule, and like in the metadata, in the conditions, etc., and even in the naming. And I created this rule back like 4 years ago, and it helped me. It worked. It helped me to look for stone drill malware, and like it was useful for a while, but it does not look very good, to be honest. So another exercise. How about a Yara rule that finds other Yara rules, which is again interesting. Would you be able to do this exercise again? Just a quick Yara rule would be very useful, and you'd be surprised that it sometimes such kinds of rules bring us Yara rules that could be useful, especially if well documented. So here is the solution for like the rule to find Yara rules, in case you're wondering. And you can see how the strings, rule strings and condition are matching because they are always in a Yara rule. So let's go for another example here. So we have two 64-bit samples from what we call the equation triple fantasy. This is an APT that we hunted for, and we keep hunting for now. And we were like, this is an advanced APT, and we needed to find something very unique, unusual about these samples in order to catch like the new files and detect like the attacks. So these were like very complicated samples. So we did not reverse these samples. We don't want to reverse these samples, and we will not reverse them now. The goal was to hunt similar kinds of files, and you can see, for example, in these malware files where targeting AMD64 platforms using Windows XP. And you can see the timestamp is in the year 2000. But then what's the problem here was that in the year 2000, Microsoft Windows XP did not support AMD64. That only started in the official release in 2005, and then in like the earliest versions of Windows Windows XP supporting AMD64 was in like early beta versions in 2004. So again, this was our way to so here is something unique about these files. Let's try to develop a Yara rule that could benefit of this finding. All right, so let's create a Yara rule that can search for malware files which are targeting Windows XP AMD64 platforms, but also have a timestamp before 2004. And so this is the, like you can see here, the ending result. I think it's self-explanatory. We're matching MZ files at the beginning, 5A4D, and then we're looking for PE machine AMD64 or PE machine IA64. You can see here the PE module is being imported into this Yara, which is very useful to identify these PE header parameters. So again, another extension that is very useful with Yara rules. And then you can see us matching timestamps, which is between 1990 and 2004, January 2004. And you can see file size of less than 2 megabytes. So this Yara rule helped us to identify and get what we needed. So yeah, good stuff. Again, hints for some Yara top performance. I think this is interesting. If you have a SSD, it would make sense to use the -P parameter, which allows to start like multiple threads. Again, this could be very useful. We currently use we use SSDs, of course, in RAID 0, which is like maximum, which allows maximum speed. And SSD wear is not an issue, so you won't have SSD wear problems because it's mostly read-only on these big repositories of malware files. You can create your I don't know, your own Yara rule, for example, or sorry, your own VirusTotal, for example, and or something like that. This is what we do, honestly. So last but not least, the Yara rules and some more tools. So let's talk a little bit more about these Yara rules. Let's try to simplify things a little bit. There are no rules really for Yara rules. When we talk about the rules before, they are like good to adopt, or like good to help you further do your investigations, etc. But there is no wrong or right Yara rule as long as it works. And that was my example from 2016. But then, of course, nowadays we don't write such kinds of Yara rules. And you've seen how you do it, but again, like we showed you our method. So feel free to, I don't know, create your own or like improvise. Again, scanning compressed files. Again, so we're talking about files which are compressed and enveloped in, for example, zip archive or zip archives. So it's usually a bad idea, but sometimes unavoidable. So there are methods, there are modules that you can involve with your Yara rules and your Yara threat hunting, which allow to decompress or deflate files inside archives, and then they could be scanned. Though you should not expect a very good speeds when employing these functions or when scanning archive files. Of course, that's That's because of the additional things that need to be done in decompressing the files. So automatic Yara rules generators. There are, luckily for all of us, there are multiple automatic Yara rules generators, which are important. You give them a bunch of files. Look, I found 10 files which I believe they are similar. Create me a Yara rule. And I think the best one is Yara Gen by Florian Roth. And it's quite interesting how it handles the creation of Yara rules, how it also removes any strings that could lead to false positives. That is, I think, also one of the most important things when you are trying to deploy Yara rules on a production environment. And of course, you don't want to be matching a lot of good files, whitelisted files. So this is mostly everything from our side today, and I thank you for listening, and I leave you here with my contact information in case you have any questions. Again, if you feel that you're interested in this kind of tools, I would encourage you to have a look at our xtraining.kaspersky.com. And this is where you would be able to additionally develop your Yara rules development skills. I think Yara is one of the important breakthroughs in our recent years, and it's very, very useful. It helps us to hunt APT and track APT activities every single day. So with that, I thank you again for listening, and I wish you a great day ahead.
It's really a great presentation from Dr. Amin. Thank you so much for him, and he's I think he's available with us also, and he's happy to get your answers. If you have any questions, anything related to the session, related to his experience, related to the training that he mentioned, or any links that he would like to share, just feel free to communicate with him directly in his contact details. Let me just back here. Yeah. What is the contact? Or filling the feedback form. Yeah, this is the contact. Twitter, Cyber Authority, @CyberAuthority. His email, amin.hasbini@kaspersky.com, or search LinkedIn about Amin Hasbini. You will find his brilliant name is over there. Appreciate your time and help and effort. Everyone, we are jumping to the next session to be within the schedule itself. Join me in the next schedule, in the next session. It will be about blockchain in Islam, which is very interesting topic. And another topic will be happening also, reshaping the digital banking, inshallah. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day. Don't forget the feedback form, please, and your question to the Dr. Amin. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.